Hello and welcome to the CSN3M Mindset Monday podcast. I'm Andrew Wade with Case Specific Nutrition. On this channel, we focus on the three M's: mindsets, myth busting, and mentoring, all as they pertain to health and nutrition. This podcast is brought to you by Case Specific Meal Prep, Case Specific's very own in-house meal prep and delivery service. We deliver dietitian approved and chef inspired meals directly to your door. Check us out at CSNPGH.com. Before we dig in today, make sure you take a moment and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to share today's episode on your favorite social media. Help us spread the health by tagging and sharing a friend or loved one so they can benefit too. For more case-specific nutrition content, you can follow us on all social media at Case Specific Nutrition or check us out at CaseSpecificNutrition.com. On this episode of this week's Mindset Monday, I have with me two guests that are representing Project 48. I have with me Josh Heinz and 𝐏𝐫𝐨𝐝𝐿. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey man, how are you?
Good.
Doing
how are you?
Well. Hanging in there. I like your view. I'm very jealous of the outdoor vibe you guys have going on.
It's really nice out here today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially after a week of rain last week. This is much appreciated, and I wish I would have known, because I would have gone to a park somewhere and we could have had ourselves a seriously zen podcast. But so let's dig on in, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, why don't we start? Why don't we start with the who, so to speak? So let's take a moment and sort of tell everybody who you guys are, what your backgrounds are, and then we're going to dig into sort of what you've been up to and what you have coming up here in the weekend to come.
All right. So my name is Josh Heinz. I am the owner of Catalyst Performance Factory and co-founder, along with Dom here, of Project 48. And my background is I'm kind of all over the place. I've done a little bit of everything over the years. So I'm actually, by degree, I'm a mechanical engineer from Penn State. So that's my educational background. On the athletic side of things, I race professional motocross and actually still continue currently racing professional motocross. And that is kind of where my training background started, was just in an effort to better understand how to train myself as an athlete. I started to pursue certain training starts and different specializations and kind of a deep dive into kinesiology, and just I did a lot of research on my own. And then from there, I kind of turned that into a side hobby, a side career, and now a business. So I love it. It's been an awesome adventure, and I definitely wouldn't trade it for the world. But yeah, beyond that, also do a lot of construction work. So
you stay busy. I was going to say, you stay busy, then it sounds like there's obviously physical activity as a common bond across the entire thing.
Yes, 100%. That is for sure. So that's
good. I love it. How about you, Dom?
So my name is 𝐏𝐫𝐸𝐿. I'm a strength conditioning coach over at Pure Edge Performance Training in Wexford. I've been here since 2016, where I was started out as an intern, and just been here ever since. I got my degree from Slippery Rock in exercise science. So strength and conditioning, health and wellness have always been a huge part of my life. I played football, baseball throughout high school as I was younger, and it kind of just translated to me really enjoying the training aspect of everything. I'm come more from like the strength and conditioning side of the world. It's always been my favorite. I prefer to be in the gym. Recently have dipped into the endurance world here a little bit, trying some different challenges, which have been really fun. And that's kind of how Project 48 just started to become. It was never really meant to be. It just kind of happened, and that's where we're at today.
I love it. So we've got two fitness experts that love all types of modalities of training. And so why don't we, without further ado, dig into Project 48. So why don't you tell us what is Project 48, kind of give us the background of why you guys got started with it, and what's it going to become?
All right. So Project 48 is a 48-hour continuous running relay that we do. This is the second year we've done it. Everything is to raise money for local charities in the Pittsburgh area. Last year it was for the Metabolic Cancer Research Foundation and also the COVID-19 Frontline Relief Fund. And this year we're super excited to partner up with the Mario Lemieux Foundation. So all proceeds this year for Project 48, for everything we do, are going directly to the Mario Lemieux Foundation to help out with their efforts on pediatric cancer research, Austin's playrooms, and all the patient care services they provide as well. So it's a great cause, and we're super happy to help them out. So essentially, going back to what Project 48 is, so there's going to be 4 runners, myself, Dom, and 2 other runners, the same 4 that we had last year, are going to, we laid out a 4-mile trail loop up at North Park. Our home base is going to be at the Woods Pavilion, and it's basically just a 4-mile trail loop. And we're just going to take turns running that 4-mile loop for 48 hours, and someone's always going to be running. We're doing it relay style. So we're going to kind of stagger off. Sometimes there'll be 2 of us running. Sometimes all 4 of us will be running. Sometimes only 1 of us will be running. But the goal is, no matter what, someone out of the 4 of us is always running during the entire 48 hours.
Gotcha. No, that is a lot of mileage. Do you have any estimates how many miles you guys are going to cover during that 48-hour span? Any ballpark?
So we definitely have some personal goals set for ourselves. I think last year, just to give a little background on last year. So last year, the team total between the 4 of us was 244 miles.
Wow.
So obviously, being the competitive nature that we are, we definitely want to try and beat that this year. I think
going for 250, maybe.
I think in the back of our heads, we're trying to hit 300. I think.
Okay.
I think we're a lot more. I mean, we were pretty well trained last year. I don't want to say that we weren't well prepared physically last year, but I think we just have a lot better understanding of what this event is and what it actually takes to complete after doing it 1 year and obviously learning from a lot of the pitfalls that we had in the middle and towards the end last year, and just trying to better ourselves and better prepare ourselves to avoid those this year. So we got some lofty goals at trying to break 300, but I don't think it's out of our reach by any means. So that's the plan.
Well, just for everyone listening, if you're not in the endurance world, so that'd be saying that each person's going to run about 75 miles. And that means that each person is going to run the equivalent of 3 marathons in 2 days. So for everyone out there that has a friend that's run a marathon and they're like, wow, that's super impressive. Well, like, these guys are about to go run 3 of them in a weekend. So this is no small feat. And there's a reason why this is an epic fundraiser idea. So I love what you guys are doing. So again, it's this weekend. So kind of, why don't you give us the rundown of, like, sort of how it's going to go down, when you're going to get started, and, when does it start? When does it end? And do you need people to come cheer you guys on? What's going on with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Dom, I'll let you.
Yeah. So we're going to start this Friday at 5 p.m. and we're going all the way till Sunday at 5 p.m. Like Josh said, we're going to be up at Woods Pavilion, up by the pool in North Park. And when we kick it off, it's just going to, we're going to get on the trail. Pretty much, I think our idea is to start all 4 of us just to get an idea of, the trail and everything like that, just so everybody sees the trail and knows exactly where to go. And then from there, we're going to kind of split up. We'll have a few runners at a time on the trail, one at a time. The plan is just to go right through the night, just kind of splitting the time. And yeah, definitely would love to have as many people as we can to come out, cheer us on, hang out, just make it a much better environment. I know last year when we did it, we were at Josh's house. So we did have some supporters, but for a while through the night, like, it was just us guys, and we were just kind of hanging out there. And it definitely makes a big difference when you're coming back from a loop, especially later in the night, and there's people there, or like early in the morning or throughout the day when you're tired and you have some people there to kind of support you and everything like that. It definitely brings the morale up. So yeah, everybody's welcome to come through. Josh,
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're like Dom said, last year was definitely a kind of a shoestring budget, and we're basically just the 4 of us in the field on my backyard. So we're trying to make it a lot more legitimate this year, and do a lot better job promoting all our sponsors, and we'll have some displays up there, and we'll have some cool different little side events that some people can get involved in if you stop up. So absolutely come check it out. And in between laps, we'd love to see you.
Wonderful. I love that. And it's like you said, iteration 2, right? The second year, it sounds like you guys stepped up your game and it's a little bit more serious this year. So more miles, hopefully more spectators, and obviously hopefully more donations as well, which is a good thing. So tell us a little bit about the, I guess, kind of dig in a little bit more if you can about the cause that you guys decided to support this year, and sort of if there's any, is there any personal drive towards those, or, what made you pick those?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it kind of stems from last year. One of the reasons that we picked the Metabolic Cancer Research Foundation is my mom has actually been struggling with cancer over the past few years, and she's had definitely an up and down battle with that. But luckily, she's super persistent. She never gave up, and as of earlier this year in 2021, she is considered in remission. So.
Wonderful. Congrats to her.
It's some super good news on that. But that was kind of where my motivation last year came for to support the Metabolic Cancer Research Foundation. This year, we were looking to kind of step up a little bit more, something in our local area. And we were looking at some different causes and just a background on why the Lemieux Foundation. So I went to Penn State and I was very involved in Penn State's Thon up there, which is for the Four Diamonds Fund. And they do incredible work up there for pediatric cancer research, helping all the patients, that sort of thing. So I was very involved in that when I was in college. And I just think it's an incredible cause, just working with the kids and seeing what the families have to go through. It's unbelievable how strong all those families are and how strong those kids are. And I think just anything we can do to help them on our part is that we're happy to help. So kind of going along those lines, once I graduated and moved back to Pittsburgh, the Lemieux Foundation is doing equally incredible work for those types of patients in the local Pittsburgh area. So just kind of being involved with that in college and then coming back here and doing a deeper dive into some of the amazing efforts that the Lemieux Foundation is putting forth, it was an easy decision for us that we're glad to help and excited to do as much as we can for them.
Exactly. Put your bodies through hell to get that outcome. I love that. No, good for you guys. So we've gone through the who you guys are, right? The what you're about, what you're getting into, the when it's happening, the why you're doing what you're doing. We have 2 hows in this. How number 1 is how are you doing it, right? Which is a chance for us, you guys as exercise experts and me as a dietitian with a loud mouth to be able to talk through it a little bit. So you guys want to say anything about, you kind of mentioned from last year to this year, your training has changed a little bit. What do you guys do from a training perspective to get ready for such an extreme feat? And then, Dom and I have worked together and I've known him for a long time. And, I know he's picked my brain nutritionally, and we've had some fun conversations. So maybe chat a little bit about your fueling strategies as well. What are you going to do to keep your body energized enough to run 4 miles every hour or so for 2 days straight without sleep, knowing, hydration needs and fueling needs, and we have to get some protein in throughout that 48-hour span. We can't just go full carb like you do for 4 hours for a marathon. So why don't you guys dig into the exercise a little first, and then we'll double back on the nutrition. And then we've got a how to kind of wrap us up after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Dom, you want to?
Yeah. So as far as the training side, last year, how this all kind of started is we were training for a 100-mile race out in Utah, and that got canceled due to COVID. So we were kind of in really good running shape at that time, and we wanted to put it to good use. So that's kind of how Project 48 came about. Last year it was a lot of running. We were doing miles upon miles upon miles every week, hundreds of miles a month. And this year we kind of switched it up a little bit. We wanted to bring the running level volume down, because there were points in time where we were running and we are just kind of hitting the wall in trainings where we're like, really fatigued overall to the week and kind of sore. So the running volume, I think, had a lot to do with that. So this year we decided, all right, let's bring the running volume down, with the goals of still having really high work capacity. So that was kind of our goal throughout the week for training. And we're trying to do that in many different modalities, a lot in the weight room, a lot of just longer, slower distance runs, some shorter runs, hill sprints, tempo runs, like high intensity. We really wanted to switch it up so we didn't feel like we were stuck like we were last year, just in that all we do is run type deal. Because I know for me personally, and I feel like Josh feels the same, I don't really love to run. Like, it's not my favorite thing in the world. I really love the gym. I love going to the gym, but I don't love to run. I love the challenge of it. So it was also good to change it up just to stay mentally strong throughout the entire training process and not get worn down. The last thing we really wanted to do was come into this week and feel like we were so worn down from running, and now we got to go run for 2 more days and just mentally struggle through it. So it was really important for us, I think, to just change it up, get as many different modalities of training in as we could throughout the week, just to stay strong and not feel like we were just running ourselves into the ground.
Yeah, I love that. No, it's you realize, so what to everyone listening, right? They're going at this by varying types of cross training, right? So it's not just pile on the mileage. It's really challenging the muscles in a dynamic way, so that those muscles can deal with something no matter what it is and when it is. So it sounds like some fun programming, and fun might be the wrong word, but you guys definitely have the right idea with it. Talk to me about your fueling strategy. What are you guys going to be doing, the night leading up to this? And then what are you thinking during that 48 hours? What kind of stuff are you keeping nearby? What are you going to consume?
Yeah. So for myself, as I've kind of gotten deeper and deeper into the endurance world, as of late, I've kind of taken a deep dive into the fat burning side of things, especially for these longer, slower, multi-day events. Like you mentioned earlier, you can't build up that kind of carbohydrate storage in your body you can't keep up with the rate of consumption of fuel and just carbohydrates. So what I've actually tried to do is, on my end, I've done a lot of work with fasted training, intermittent fasted, did some different keto cycles, that sort of thing, just to really build a very good metabolic flexibility within my own body to be able to burn other sources of fuel rather than just strictly relying on carbohydrate.
Absolutely.
So I've kind of built that base over the past couple of years. And then what's nice about that is when I go into an event like this, and I am in a point where I'm so metabolically flexible and have that strong ability to burn fat as a fuel source, when I add carbohydrate back in, it's just that much more fuel and energy that I'm able to expend. So
absolutely,
that's definitely been my approach. As far as what I'm actually going to be using to fuel, I'm definitely a fan of the kind of, especially things that I can carry light with me, like the dried fruits, banana chips, dates. Some of my wife makes these really awesome homemade almond butter date balls that are kind of, I use a lot of those, and just kind of constantly try and keep a little trickle of fuel in. And then obviously at some point in time, if we can schedule the running weight where you have a little bit more time, you try and get a little bit bigger meal in, a little more fuel, but you're always kind of playing that constant balance between eating enough to fuel you, but not eating too much to have GI issues. So
exactly.
It's definitely a fine line there, but hoping we have it better dialed in this year than last year, and we'll see what happens.
I love it. Well, and you said it well, for an extended event like this, there's definitely something to be said about the fat adapted training. Not that someone needs to go full on keto for it, but it is to say having exposure to that side of those energy systems can be useful, because carbs will always be your body's preferential fuel. But the reality is your ability to switch over and use other ones is really, really advantageous. And then from there, from a nutrition standpoint, we look at it, we say being able to tolerate other fuel sources during a training or an event like this is key. Because the reality, you figure the typical marathoner, right? So that the 26 miler, they're consuming somewhere in the realm of 300 grams of carbohydrates during the workout, just to keep their glycogen stores preserved. That's the carb stores, right? In the muscle for everyone listening. And that's assuming they carb loaded and had full carb stores. And so over the course of a marathon, they're burning 1,000 grams of carbohydrate. And if you have a body that doesn't do well basically slowing down carb utilization and switching over and utilizing fats, you end up, I mean, you're going to fall behind, right? And especially on a 48-hour event where there's sleep deprivation involved, which means hormonally speaking, your insulin levels never actually go down. So your body becomes, if anything, temporarily, it's going to use carbohydrates more aggressively in a lot of ways. You can set yourself up to somehow need to be consuming a couple 1,000 grams of carbs over a 2-day span, which is going to make you sick. It's going to cause dumping syndrome in your gut. Your body's just not going to tolerate it. But on the other hand, if you were just a runner that always used carbs and then you try to dive into a 48-hour event, you're going to watch yourself try and eat fats and your stomach's going to cramp up and you're not going to feel good either. And so it becomes that need to find that hybrid. So good for you for figuring that out and kind of getting to a place where your body can benefit. And, you mentioned your almond date bars, right? So we've got some good fats in there. We have some good carbohydrates, but we also have some protein in there. And that's the other piece is, the traditional endurance runner, it's carb load leading up to, carbs during, protein and carbs after. Well, the reality is during a 48-hour span, you can't go no protein. There has to be protein during that time or your body will start to break down. And so you having those nuts or nut butters or those seeds or whatever it is can provide a little bit of that. And a lot of my ultra marathon runners and that kind of thing that I work with, that's some of the things we have to play around with, right? How do we get some protein throughout those, this extended period? How do we get carbohydrates? How do we set it up so that your body doesn't feel sick because fats are sitting in your stomach? Are there faster digesting fats that your body tolerates better? So a lot of considerations. And I go on this rant only because I want people listening to understand that like an event like this is not as simple as just doing it. It really takes a toll on the body, but it also requires a body to be conditioned in a way that isn't just endurance trained, but it's also adapted from an energy system perspective, so that you guys can really survive the extended period. So Dom, how about you? Are you doing anything different with your fueling or a similar kind of concept?
Definitely a similar kind of concept. I've learned just from myself running multiple ultra marathons in the past that variability is huge for me while I'm running the race. I quickly learned that I can't just rely on one particular food or one fuel source during a race because my body gets sick of it. So I'm going to have a lot of variability. A lot of different fruits is usually my go-to: watermelon, bananas, apples, all that kind of stuff. I'm not as big into like the energy chews or anything that typical marathoners will bring along. So I really like the fresh fruit. Last year, kind of to go along with what you were saying, we did experience times I think was like our biggest setback where our stomachs were just wrecked. Like from a fueling standpoint, we felt like we were falling behind fueling, and that really did have a big it had a big outcome on performance, like how we were able to run each loop. Times we get a little bit slower, and just mentally, just knowing what your body feels like because you're starting to fall behind. Like you understand that you're falling behind and you try and catch up, but not so much that you just wreck your stomach even more. So I think that was one of our biggest challenges last year. It wasn't even like our legs hurt so bad that we couldn't move. It was just from a fueling standpoint, we felt like we were getting behind. So this year, lots of different variability to make sure that doesn't happen, listening to our bodies, and trying to make sure that there is a steady flow of fuel coming in every single time we finish a loop. So every time you come back from a loop, you need to drink something, you need to eat something, not to the point where it makes you sick, but to where you're not going to fall behind, kind of like we did last year.
Absolutely. Once you fall behind, you're screwed. That's really what it comes down to. You have glycogen stores, and if you let them get to zero, you're not going to be ready. It's just not going to happen. Right. It's kind of a neat concept. And Dom, I appreciate you saying this because this is a key. People during a marathon get sick of chews or gels or the same feeding, right? They're like, oh, this sweet thing, I can't do anymore, but they get sick. 48 hours worth. Do we really think you guys are going to eat the same thing? Absolutely not. You can't. Different textures, different tastes, different flavors. Yes. you can't have all sweet things. You need to have some savory stuff as well, because if you just do all sweet, you're going to start gagging when you eat.
Yep.
So that variability is key. Now, I will ask, as a dietitian, and I'm not putting you on the spot, it's just maybe a chance for me to do my part for Project 48, right? Have you guys ever heard of the brand Pro Bar and their Pro Meal Bars?
I have not.
I have not either. No.
Okay, you guys need to go to GNC or go on Amazon, and it's Pro Bar, and they have a meal bar, and they're a square, and they're 480 calories of fat and carbohydrate with like 13 grams of protein. And they have like, chocolate oatmeal, and they've got a mixed berry one, and they have a little more of a savory one. They have a bunch of flavors. I will tell you that I used those in 2019 when I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, and they were perfect because they're like a puck, and they're like nuts and seeds and nut butters. And so they sit really well. They digest really efficiently. They're good to kind of grab in between runs, like you talked about. And they give you a solid 400 to 500 calories of balanced nutrition for someone like you guys that are adapted and ready for it. So I would highly recommend. And then the other one I'll call out for you guys, if you haven't thought of it, sweet potato pancakes.
Okay.
There's a ton of recipes for them.
Making some of those this week.
Good.
So
Please do, because honestly, there's a bunch of recipes out there, but if you do some sweet potato with a little bit of egg white, and then the best thing I think that you can do is you do a sweet potato pancake, some peanut butter or almond butter on it, a little bit of honey or maple syrup, and then another sweet potato pancake. And the egg whites gives you that protein, that nut butter gives you that fat. You get a little bit of carbohydrate. If you decide you need something a little bit more savory, you can salt it. And then you have like a salty sweet potato pancake. That is one of the most versatile foods for my 1 and 2 day ultra guys and girls that I work with. So Pro Bar meal bars and sweet potato pancakes are blessings in disguise. So there you have it.
I love that.
I love it too.
100% going to go to this.
So good things.
Yeah.
So again, we did it. We did our who, what, where, when, why, how. But I promised a second how. And the second how is, how can people donate? How can people get involved? You mentioned that people can come cheer you guys on. It sounds like late Saturday night might be a really good time for people to come cheer you on, because it's going to be real lonely and quiet in the park. But how can people get involved?
Yeah. So the first and foremost, if you are willing and able, donations, we would love to have anyone who is able to and willing to participate. The best way to do that, the Lemieux Foundation was awesome this year in setting up a Project 48 specific donation page on their website. You can get to that specifically if you go to my website, which is catalystperformancefactory.com. Right on the homepage there's a big Project 48 banner. Just click on the donate to Project 48 button. It'll take you straight to that is okay. So that's the Facebook page from last year. So
Okay, so this is not the right place then.
Correct.
So we will post the link then.
Yes.
So we'll just post the link.
So from there, it takes you straight to the donation page and the Lemieux Foundation. You can donate via credit card on there. It's everything seamless. You can fill it out, and you can also donate in person. We're going to be out there hanging out at the Woods Pavilion on Southridge Drive. We'll be there all weekend. So absolutely come on out, see us in person, hang out. You can donate in person. We'll be accepting it there too. We're doing some other cool little side promotional events too, so you can get involved with those as well. And any support you guys are willing to provide, we'd love to have it.
Love that. So yeah, we'll make sure we post the links, and obviously anybody that can come out and support sounds like a really fun thing. I know you guys did an interview with Jeremiah earlier this week. No doubt he's going to come visit, and I'll probably tag along with him and come out and cheer you guys on, and make sure you're eating enough and get you caught up if you're falling behind on anything. So I'll come do my nutrition drop in once you get a little fatigued.
Definitely appreciate that.
Absolutely. Awesome, guys. Anything else you wanted to make sure you screamed from the rooftops before we close this out and let people get on their way to their next podcast or to their next meeting?
Yeah, I think just again, what we're going to try and do this year, we did it a little bit last year, but I want to try and do a better job of it this year, is actually documenting the event as it's happening from our end. So I want to do some different GoPro stuff where, especially, I think what's really cool, I did it a little bit last year, but I want to expand upon it this year, is some of the nighttime runs where it's 2-3 in the morning, you're running through the woods by yourself. It's a really cool mental state. It's kind of a cool point in the event, and it's cool to document it. So I want to try and share that with you guys. So we're going to be having that stuff on social media. I'll have that on catalystperformancefactory.com Instagram, and then we'll send it, share it on all our personal Instagrams as well. Mine's 𝐏𝐸𝐸𝐼𝐻788 Dom.
Mine is just at Dom_Calderaro. So just my full name.
Yeah. So we're going to be trying to share some cool parts of the experience on there. And if you want to experience in person, come on out. We'd love to have you.
Love it. Thanks again, guys, for coming on. Always a pleasure, and really excited about what you guys are doing. Thanks for putting in those miles and doing your part to make a difference in the world. Always means a lot when people are motivated enough to make a change and do something about it. To everybody listening, thanks again for being a part of the CSN3M community. Don't forget to share this with a friend or loved one. And we will be back next Monday with a Mindset Monday. In the meantime, be well.